The night the family broke, a trust fund betrayal that changed everything. I remember the exact moment the birthday dinner broke apart. It wasn't when Aunt Vivian asked Grandma about the trust fund, it was after, when Mom's wine glass slipped from her fingers and didn't shatter, just rolled in agonizing slow motion across the marble island, stopping against Dad's shoe like it was too frightened to break. I was upstairs, pretending to do homework, really live-streaming to my friends, showing off the new ring light Dad bought me for my TikTok content, the camera angled to catch the crystal chandelier Mom insisted on, the one that cost more than most people's cars. Then the screaming started, not loud, but worse, tight and sharp like someone strangling a scream until only its edges leaked out. I muted the stream. Grandma's voice sliced through the house, "Tell me, how is it that I've sold my belongings just to eat while you bought luxury cars?" I'd never heard her say more than pass the salt at family dinners. My little brother Jonah, 11 and still missing 2 front teeth, poked his head out of his room, whispering, "Is Grandma okay?" I didn't answer, I was already creeping to the top of the stairs. Dad stood in the foyer, back to me, shoulders crumpled like someone had punched the air out of him. Aunt Vivian loomed behind Grandma, hand on her shoulder like a bodyguard. Mom was gone, vanished somewhere in the house. Grandma, tiny in her faded brown dress that smelled faintly of mothballs, seemed tall, not in height but in presence, her shadow stretching across the marble floor like it carried weight. Jonah whispered again, "Why is everyone crying?" I didn't know yet, but I felt it, a heaviness settling in my chest, like the house was holding its breath before a storm. When Grandma left with Aunt Vivian, the house went silent in a way it had never been. Usually, there were sounds, Mom's heels clicking on hardwood during her conference calls, Dad's laugh, always too loud, when he told clients he was crushing it, my Xbox humming in the bonus room, Ava's ring light buzzing like a trapped bee. That night, the silence had teeth, sharp and biting. Dad sat at the kitchen island until 3 in the morning, staring at the spot where Mom's wine glass had rolled. He didn't move when I came down for water, his eyes open but unblinking, like he was seeing something that wasn't there. I asked, "Are you okay?" He flinched like I'd slapped him and muttered, "Go to bed, Jonah." I didn't. I hid behind the pantry door, watching him open the liquor cabinet, the one with the fancy bottles we weren't allowed to touch. He pulled out Grandpa's scotch, the one he said was for special occasions, and drank straight from the bottle, his hands shaking. The next morning, Mom announced a family meeting, a phrase we'd never heard in our house. She stood at the kitchen whiteboard, the one we used for grocery lists and my TikTok content schedule, and wrote in sharp, black marker, "Sell, house, Dad's Audi, Mom's SUV, Ava's ring light and backdrop, Jonah's Xbox, pool furniture, chandelier." I stared at my ring light on the list until the letters blurred into a smear. "Where will we live?" I asked, my voice sounding smaller than I meant it to. Mom's mouth opened, closed, then opened again. "We'll figure it out," she said, but her eyes didn't meet mine. Dad didn't look up from his phone, scrolling through Zillow listings for apartments, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, pet-friendly. Jonah started crying, not loud, just leaking tears like a faucet that wouldn't stop. That night, I heard them fighting behind their bedroom door. Mom's voice cut through, "You said it was an investment." Dad's was weaker, "I said I'd pay it back." Mom snapped, "With what? Your good intentions?" Something crashed, glass, sharp and final. I pressed my ear to the wall, heard Dad say, "She's my mother," and Mom laughed, sharp and ugly. Not anymore. The for sale sign went up on a Tuesday, red letters screaming for sale by owner across our perfect lawn. The realtor, a woman with a tight bun and a smile that didn't reach her eyes, walked through our house like she was cataloging a museum. "This chandelier is stunning," she said, snapping photos. "Imported?" Mom nodded. "Italy." I wanted to scream that it was paid for with Grandma's money, but the words stuck in my throat, heavy as stones. I stopped filming TikToks, my ring light sat in the garage, gathering dust next to boxes labeled fragile, crystal. At school, kids started whispering. "Hey, Ava, why's your house on the market? Your dad get a new job? You moving to Beverly Hills or something?" Their voices followed me like shadows. I stopped eating lunch in the cafeteria, hiding in a bathroom stall, scrolling through old videos where I bragged about living my best life, my perfect house, my perfect family. I deleted them one by one, each tap feeling like erasing a piece of myself. On Thursday, a plain envelope arrived, no return address, my name in Grandma's shaky handwriting. I waited until Jonah was asleep to open it. Ava, it read, I don't know if your parents have told you the truth, I hope they have. The money that bought your ring light, your Xbox, the pool where you learned to dive, it was mine. Your grandfather left it for me, your father took it. I'm not writing to make you hate him, I'm writing because you deserve to know why the house is empty, why your mom cries in the car, why your dad doesn't laugh anymore. I loved you before any of this, I love you still. If you ever want to talk, I'm here. Love, Grandma. I read it 7 times, then folded it into a square so small it fit in my palm. I didn't sleep, the words burning in my mind, each one a splinter I couldn't pull out. They turned our driveway into a flea market, neighbors picking through our life like vultures circling a carcass. $50 for the Xbox? I'll take it, one said. This ring light, 200 new, right? I'll give you 75, another bargained. The chandelier, how much? Dad stood in the corner, arms crossed, eyes fixed on the ground like he could disappear into it. A woman bought Mom's designer handbag for $30. Mom watched from the window, her face blank as a sheet of paper. I tried to save my Xbox, hid it in the laundry room behind a stack of towels. Dad found it. We need the money, Jonah, he said, his eyes red, voice barely above a whisper. But it's mine, I protested, my voice cracking. He knelt down, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Nothing was ever yours. It was hers. I didn't understand, not fully, but I felt it, like the ground had shifted beneath my feet and I was scrambling to stand. We moved into a 2-bedroom apartment off the highway, walls beige, carpet reeking of old pizza and cigarette smoke. Jonah and I shared a room, bunk beds, him on top, me on the bottom, crying into my pillow so he wouldn't hear. Mom got a job at a call center, wearing a headset, speaking in a voice that wasn't hers, flat and robotic. Dad drove for Uber, coming home smelling like fast food and stranger's cologne. At night, through the thin walls, I heard them. Mom, we're going to lose the kids. Dad, we already did. The words landed like punches, each one heavier than the last. Grandma invited us to her new apartment, small but bright, with plants on the balcony and paintings on the walls, hers, landscapes in soft greens and blues. She made chocolate chip cookies, the kind with crinkly edges that melted on your tongue. I couldn't look at her, my eyes fixed on the floor, shame burning in my chest. Jonah asked, "Are you still mad at Dad?" Grandma knelt down, her hands warm on his shoulders. "I'm mad at what he did, not who he is." I finally spoke, my voice sharp. "He says you're trying to ruin us." Grandma's eyes filled with tears, but her voice stayed steady. "I'm trying to save you." She pulled out a folder, showed us the trust fund papers, the bank statements, the transfers, $50,000 for the house down payment, $30,000 for Jonah's Xbox wall mount, $12,000 for my private art lessons. Each number was a knife, cutting deeper than the last. I started crying, not quietly, but loud, ugly sobs that shook my whole body, my knees buckling. Grandma held me, her arms strong despite her frail frame. "It's okay to be angry. It's okay to love him anyway." Jonah didn't cry, just stared at the numbers until they blurred, his small hands clenched into fists. Dad missed a payment, and Grandma didn't hesitate. Court was cold, fluorescent lights buzzing, wooden benches hard against my back. Dad wore a suit that hung loose on him, like he'd shrunk inside it. The judge asked Grandma, "Do you understand this could result in incarceration?" Her voice didn't waver. "I understand." Dad's lawyer tried to paint her as vindictive, a bitter old woman punishing her son for a mistake. Grandma's lawyer played the recordings, Dad's voice slurring, "Drunk at 2 a.m., she'll never know. She's too stupid to check." The jury gasped, a collective intake of breath that sucked the air from the room. Jonah squeezed my hand so hard it hurt, his nails digging into my palm. Dad didn't look at us, his head bowed, shoulders shaking. The sentence came, 500 hours of community service, a repayment plan of $3,000 a month for 20 years, a public apology. Dad had to stand in the courthouse hallway, cameras flashing, and read a statement. I stole from my mother, I betrayed her trust, one used her money to build a life I didn't earn, I am sorry. His voice cracked on sorry, and the sound echoed in my head for days. A reporter filmed it, the video went viral. At school, kids called Jonah trust fund thief's kid. He stopped going to recess, hid in the library with his books, his face blank like he was trying to disappear. Grandma wrote again, Ava, your father's apology was for the world, this one is for you. I forgive him not because he deserves it, because I deserve peace. You can hate him, you can love him, you can do both. But don't let his mistakes become your cage. Come paint with me sometime, the balcony gets good light. Love, Grandma. I went, hesitant, dragging my feet. She taught me how to mix colors, how to make shadows, her hand steady as she guided mine. Jonah came too, painted a picture of our old house with a for sale sign in the yard and a storm cloud over the roof, dark and heavy. Grandma hung it on her fridge, the edges curling slightly, and every time I saw it, my chest tightened. Dad comes home now smelling like courthouse coffee, his hands stained with ink from signing forms. He and Mom sleep in separate rooms, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the highway outside. Jonah and I don't talk about it anymore, but sometimes I hear him crying at night, soft muffled sobs through the bunk bed slats. I cry too, quietly, so he won't know, my tears soaking into the pillow. It's been 11 months, and we're still in the apartment, the walls closing in tighter each day. Dad works 2 jobs now, Uber and a night shift stocking shelves at a warehouse, his eyes sunken, his laugh gone. Mom's smiles are small, tired, like she's forgotten how to mean them. Jonah made the honor roll, says it's because he has nothing else to do with the Xbox gone. I started a new TikTok, no ring light, just my phone propped on a stack of books, the first video titled What Happens When Your Family Steals From Your Grandma. It got 2.3 million views, the comments brutal, some called Dad a monster, some called Grandma a hero, some called me brave. I don't feel brave, I feel empty, like someone hollowed me out and left the shell behind. Grandma invited us for Christmas, just us, no parents. She made lasagna, the kind with crispy edges that stuck to the pan, the smell filling her small apartment. After dinner, we sat on her balcony, the city lights blinking below like distant stars. She said, your father and I are trying. It's slow, it's messy, but we're trying. I asked, do you ever wish you'd just forgiven him? She was quiet for a long time, her hands folded in her lap. Forgiveness isn't a gift you give someone else, she said. It's a door you open for yourself. I'm still turning the key. Jonah asked, will we ever go back to how it was? She looked at him, really looked, her eyes soft but unflinching. No, sweetheart. But maybe we'll get to something better. I wrote back to her, my first letter, hands shaking as I wrote, Grandma, I don't know how to be angry and love someone at the same time. I don't know how to miss a house I can't go back to. I don't know how to forgive, but I'm trying. Thank you for the paint. Love, Ava. She sent a postcard, a photo of her balcony at sunrise, the light soft and golden. Trying is the bravest thing a person can do. The light's good tomorrow. Bring Jonah. Love, Grandma. The old house sold, a new family moved in, painted the dining room yellow, a color that felt like an insult to the gray memories we left behind. We drive by sometimes, Jonah pressing his face to the car window, me taking a photo I'll never post. We don't talk, but we remember, the night the table stopped talking, the week the walls started whispering, the day the chandelier came down, packed away in a box marked fragile. We remember the weight of the quiet, heavy as a stone in our chests, and we carry it, not as a curse but as a warning, a lesson etched into us. Never build a life on someone else's silence. The months drag on, each one heavier than the last, the apartment feeling smaller, the air thicker with unspoken words. Dad's apologies come in waves, mumbled over breakfast or whispered at night when he thinks we're asleep. I didn't mean to hurt you, he says, but the words feel hollow, like they're missing a piece we can't find. Mom tries to act normal, packing our lunches with store-brand bread and off-brand peanut butter, but her hands shake when she spreads the jam, and sometimes she stares out the window like she's looking for the old house, the old life. Jonah stopped asking about Dad, stopped asking about Grandma, but he draws now, sketchbooks filled with storm clouds and empty rooms, his small hands smudging charcoal across the pages. I keep making videos, not for likes but because it's the only way I know how to scream without opening my mouth. The comments keep coming, some kind, some cruel, but I read every one, searching for something, answers, maybe, or just proof that someone out there understands. Grandma's letters arrive every few weeks, short and steady, always ending with an invitation to paint, to talk, to sit on her balcony and watch the sunrise. We go sometimes, Jonah and me, and she listens, never pushing, never judging, her hands stained with paint like she's coloring her own future. She tells us stories about Grandpa, about how he wanted her to be safe, how he never knew his own son would betray her. Those stories hurt, but they also heal, stitching together pieces of us we didn't know were torn. Dad's community service hours tick down slowly, each one a reminder of the courtroom, the judge's voice, the cameras. He sweeps sidewalks, picks up trash in parks, his hands calloused now, his fancy suits replaced with thrift store jeans. The repayment plan is a chain around his neck, $3,000 a month for 20 years, a debt that feels like it'll outlive us all. Mom works overtime at the call center, her voice hoarse by the time she gets home, but she never complains, just sits at the kitchen table with a calculator, tallying bills like they're a puzzle she can't solve. Jonah and I don't fight over the bunk beds anymore, we've learned to share the silence, each of us carrying our own piece of the family's collapse. At school, the whispers have faded, but the nickname sticks, Trust Fund Thief's Kid, and Jonah flinches every time he hears it. I want to protect him, but I don't know how, not when I'm still figuring out how to protect myself. Grandma's group at the community center grows, women with stories like hers, their voices soft but growing stronger, and sometimes she asks me to come, to listen, to see what it means to rebuild after betrayal. I sit in the back, watching these women, some older than Grandma, their hands trembling as they talk about sons, daughters, husbands who took everything. I wonder if I'll ever be that strong, if I'll ever stop feeling like the ground is slipping away. One night, Dad comes home late, his face gray, his hands shaking as he sets a grocery bag on the counter. I saw her today, he says, and we know he means Grandma. She was at the park, planting flowers with those women from her group. His voice breaks, and for a moment, I see the dad from before, the one who used to lift me onto his shoulders, who laughed too loud. She looked happy, he says, and the word sounds like a confession. Jonah asks, did you talk to her? Dad shakes his head. I didn't know what to say. That night, I write another letter. Grandma, I saw Dad's face when he talked about you. I think he's sorry, but I don't know if that's enough. I don't know how to fix this. Love, Ava. Her reply comes faster this time, another postcard, this one with a painting of a single flower. Sorry is a start, but it's not the end. You don't have to fix anything, just keep being you. Love, Grandma. Jonah starts leaving his drawings on her fridge, one for every visit, a gallery of storms and empty houses that she calls beautiful. I keep filming, keep posting, my videos raw now, no filters, just me talking about guilt, about love that hurts, about a house we can't go back to. The views climb, but I don't care about the numbers anymore. I care about the comments from kids like me, kids whose families broke apart, who say my words make them feel less alone. Christmas comes again, and we're back on Grandma's balcony, the air cold but the lasagna warm, the city lights brighter than last year. Jonah asks, what happens if Dad can't pay you back? Grandma smiles, not the sad kind but the kind that holds a secret strength. Then he'll keep trying, and I'll keep living. I ask, are you still angry? She looks at the horizon, her eyes catching the light. Anger is heavy, Ava. I set it down, but I didn't forget it. We sit in silence, the three of us, the quiet not heavy anymore but soft, like a blanket. The old house is gone, the new family inside it probably eating dinner under the yellow dining room walls. We drive by less often now, Jonah's face not pressed to the window as much, my photo staying in my camera roll. The chandelier is in someone else's house, the Xbox in a stranger's basement, the ring light probably lighting up someone else's dreams. But we have Grandma's balcony, her paintbrushes, her steady voice telling us we're enough. We carry the quiet, not as a punishment but as a reminder, a lesson we'll never unlearn. Never build a life on someone else's silence, because the weight of it will crush you, and the truth, when it comes, will break everything before it sets you free. The moral of this story is that truth and integrity are the real foundations of any family, not money, luxury, or appearances. When a life is built on lies, even the most beautiful home eventually crumbles under the weight of guilt and betrayal. The father's decision to steal from his own mother destroyed not just his finances, but the trust and love that once held his family together. Yet, through the pain and loss, the story reminds us that forgiveness and honesty can still plant the seeds of healing. True wealth doesn't come from possessions, it comes from the courage to face the truth, to make amends, and to choose love over pride. In the end, the family learns that redemption doesn't erase the past, but it gives them the strength to build a future on something real.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, it really helps. Watch the full video for more details.